I don't know, we might be 6 to 12 months away from when the model is doing most, maybe all of what SWEs do end to end.
But I think some areas of engineering work, coding, also you could say mathematics, are a little bit easier to see how they'll be automated.
I think the biggest thing to watch is this issue of AI systems, building AI systems.
Dario, you last year in Paris said, we'll have a model that can do everything a human could do at the level of a Nobel laureate across many fields by 26, 27. We're in 26. Do you still stand by that timeline?
So it's always hard to know exactly when something will happen, but I don't think that's going to turn out to be that far off. So the mechanism whereby I imagined it would happen is that we would make models that were good at coding and good at AI research, and we would use that to produce the next generation of model and speed it up, to create a loop that would increase the speed of model development. We are now, in terms of the models that write code, I have engineers within Anthropic who say, I don't write any code anymore. I just let the model write the code, I edit it, I do the things around it. I don't know, we might be 6 to 12 months away from when the model is doing most, maybe all of what SWEs do end to end. And then it's a question of how fast does that loop close? Not every part of that loop is something that can be sped up by AI. It's easy to see how this could take a few years. I would guess that this goes faster than people imagine, and that key element of code and increasingly research going faster than we imagine, that's going to be the key driver. It's really hard to predict, again, how much that exponential is going to speed us up, but something fast is going to happen.
So you, Demis, were a little more cautious last year. You said a 50% chance of a system that can exhibit all the cognitive capabilities humans can by the end of the decade. Clearly in coding, as Dario says, it's been remarkable. Do you stand by your prediction?
Yes, I think I'm still on the same kind of timeline. I think there has been remarkable progress, but I think some areas of engineering work, coding, also you could say mathematics, are a little bit easier to see how they'll be automated, partly because they're verifiable what the output is. Some areas of natural science are much harder to do than that. So I also think there are some missing capabilities at the moment in terms of not just solving existing conjectures, but actually coming up with the theory or the hypothesis. I think that's much, much harder. And I think that's the highest level of scientific creativity. And it's not clear. I think we will have those systems, but I think there may be one or two missing ingredients. First of all, can this self-improvement loop that we're all working on actually close without a human in the loop? I think there are also risks to that kind of system, but that could speed things up if that kind of system does work.
These models showing themselves to be capable of deception, duplicity. Do you think differently about that risk now than you did a year ago? Is there something about the way the models are evolving that we should put a little bit more concern on that?
Yeah, I mean, since the beginning of Anthropic, we've kind of thought about this risk. Our research at the beginning of it was very theoretical. We pioneered this idea of mechanistic interpretability, which is looking inside the model and trying to understand, looking inside its brain, trying to understand why it does what it does. And I think as time has gone on, we've increasingly documented the bad behaviors of the models. So I think I've always been concerned about these risks. I've talked to Demis many times. I think he has also been concerned about these risks. Let him speak for himself. Skeptical of doomerism, which is we're doomed, there's nothing we can do, or this is the most likely outcome. I think this is a risk. We can learn through science to properly control and direct these creations that we're building. But if we build them poorly, if we're all racing and we go so fast that there's no guardrails, then I think there is risk of something going wrong.
Google DeepMind was kind of lagging OpenAI. I would say that now it's looking quite different. I mean, they've declared code red. It's been quite a year. So talk me through what specifically you've been surprised by and how well you've done this year.
I was always very confident we would get back to sort of the top of the leaderboards and the SOTA type of models across the board, because we've always had the deepest and broadest research bench, and it was about kind of marshalling that all together and getting the intensity and focus and the kind of startup mentality back to the whole organization. It's been a lot of work, but I think we're still a lot of work to do. I think you can start seeing the progress that's been made in both the models with Gemini 3, but also on the product side of Gemini my app getting increasing market share. So I feel like we're making great progress, but there's a ton more work to do. And we're bringing to bear Google DeepMind to the engine room of Google, where we're getting used to shipping our models more and more quickly into the product surfaces.
One question for you, Dario, on this aspect of it. There is, I think, an increasing concern. The independent model makers will not be able to continue for long enough until you get to where the revenues come in. It's made very openly about OpenAI, but talk me through how you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, how we think about that is as we've built better and better models, there's been a kind of exponential relationship not only between how much compute you put into the model and how cognitively capable it is, but between how cognitively capable it is and how much revenue it's able to generate. So our revenue's grown 10x in the last 3 years, from 0 to 100 million in 2023, 100 million to $1 billion in 2024, and 1 billion to 10 billion in 2025. And so those revenue numbers, I don't know if that curve will literally continue. It would be crazy if it did. But those numbers are starting to get not too far from the scale of the largest companies in the world. So there's always uncertainty. But I have confidence that if we're able to produce the best models in the things that we focus on, then I think things will go well. I think it's been a good year for both Google and Anthropic. And I think the thing we actually have in common is that they're both kind of companies that are the research part of the company that are kind of led by researchers who focus on the models, who focus on solving important problems in the world, who have these kind of hard scientific problems as a North Star. And I think those are the kind of companies that are going to succeed going forward. I think we share that between us.
Let's talk about closing the loop. The odds that you will get models that will close the loop and be able to, power themselves. Do you still believe that we are likely to see that? Or is this going to be much more of a normal technology where followers and catch-up can compete?
Well, I definitely don't think it's going to be a normal technology. So, I mean, there are aspects already that, as Dario mentioned, that it's already helping with our coding and some aspects of research. The full closing of the loop, though, I think is an unknown. I mean, I think it's possible to do. You may need AGI itself to be able to do that in some domains. Again, where there's more messiness around them, it's not so easy to verify your answer very quickly. So I also include, by the way, for AGI, physical AI, robotics working, all of these kind of things. And then you've got hardware in the loop. That may limit how fast the self-improvement systems can work. But in coding and mathematics and these kind of areas, I can definitely see that working. And then the question is more theoretical one, is what is the limit of engineering and maths to solve the natural sciences?
When we meet again, I hope next year, what will have changed by then?
Well, I think the biggest thing to watch is this issue of AI systems building AI systems. How that goes, whether that goes one way or another, that will determine whether it's a few more years until we get there.
I agree on that, so we're keeping in close touch about that. But also, I think outside of that, I think there are other interesting ideas being researched, like world models, continual learning. These are the things I think that will need to be cracked if self-improvement doesn't sort of deliver the goods on its own. Then we'll need these other things to work. And then I think robotics may have its sort of breakout moment.